You are hearing this right now. Someone you know will come to your house tonight. Do not ignore this. Do not skip this. This is a message for the chosen one from heaven. Archangel Michael says, God has allowed this message to reach you before this moment happens. Not after. Before. Because what is about to take place is not random. It is not coincidence. It is timing. And if you are not aware, you may respond in a way that you will regret later. Listen carefully, because this is not just information. This is a warning. There is someone you recognize, someone familiar, who is going to appear at your door. And when they do, it will feel normal, unexpected, but not suspicious. That is what makes this moment important. Because not everything that feels normal is aligned with your path. Archangel Michael says, not every person who arrives is meant to enter. Not every message is meant to be received. And not every moment is meant to be acted on immediately. You have been in a sensitive state lately. More aware, more emotional, more open than before. And in this state, you are more receptive, not just to what is right, but also to what is not. That is why this moment matters. Because what comes tonight is not just a person. It is influence. It is energy. It is a decision. And that decision must not be made in a rush. Think about your past. How many times did something appear suddenly, and you reacted without thinking? A conversation you accepted. A situation you allowed. A decision you made quickly. At that moment, it felt fine. It felt harmless. But later, you realized something. It should not have entered your life. It brought confusion. It brought stress. It created regret. This is not happening again. Because this time, you are being warned. This is a message for the chosen one from heaven. And if you are still listening, you are being guided before the moment arrives. Archangel Michael says, do not react immediately. Do not respond emotionally. Do not open the door without awareness. Because what feels urgent is not always aligned. And what feels familiar is not always right for you. You must slow down. You must pause. You must feel. Because your first instinct will tell you something. A small hesitation. A quiet discomfort. A subtle feeling that something is not right. That feeling is not fear. It is guidance. It is God communicating with you. But most people ignore it. They rush. They react. They follow habit. And later, they realize, I should have waited. You are not doing that this time. Because this time, you are aware. You are prepared. You are guided. So when that moment comes tonight, you do not rush. You do not react. You pause. You observe. You give yourself time to feel what is right. Because not every knock requires an answer. And not every situation requires your immediate response. Archangel Michael says, delay is protection. Pause is wisdom. Awareness is alignment. And tonight, you will need all three. This is not about fear. This is about control. Control over your choices. Control over your response. Control over what you allow into your life. Because once something enters, it becomes harder to remove. That is why awareness must come first. Not after. Before. So stay with this. Do not skip what comes next. Because there is something even deeper you need to understand. What this moment is really testing. And why it is happening now. And the reason this message reached you before it happens is because heaven wants you prepared, not surprised. Archangel Michael says, what is about to happen tonight is not just a moment. It is a test of awareness, a test of control, a test of whether you have truly learned from your past. Because this is not the first time something like this has happened in your life. There were moments before. Moments where something appeared suddenly. A person. A situation. An opportunity. And you felt something. A pause. A hesitation. A quiet signal inside you. But you ignored it. You moved too fast. You trusted too quickly. You reacted without thinking. And later, you understood. That moment was not meant for you. Archangel Michael says, this time is different. Because this time, you are being warned before it happens. You are being given awareness in advance. So when that moment comes tonight, you recognize it. Not after, but in real time. This is a message for the chosen one from heaven. And if you are still listening, you are being guided before the decision is made. Because what is coming will not look negative. It will not feel dangerous. It will feel normal. That is why it is important. Because things that cause the most impact do not always arrive in obvious ways. Sometimes they arrive quietly, through familiar faces, through simple conversations, through moments that seem harmless. And that is where people make mistakes. They lower their awareness. They assume everything is fine. They react based on habit, instead of intuition. And in that moment, they allow something into their life that shifts everything. Not always immediately, but slowly, over time. Archangel Michael says, not every influence is visible at first. Some things reveal themselves later, after they have already entered. That is why awareness must come first. Before the decision. Before the action. Before the response. Because once you allow something in, you are no longer deciding from outside. You are dealing with it from within. And that changes everything. Think about it. How many times did something small turn into something bigger later? A simple conversation that led to stress. A small decision that created long-term consequences. A moment you didn't think about that stayed longer than expected. That is how it happens. Not instantly. Gradually. And that is why this moment tonight matters so much. Because it is not about what happens immediately. It is about what follows. And what follows depends on your awareness now. Archangel Michael says, you are not being asked to fear. You are being asked to observe, to stay calm, to stay aware, to stay in control. Because when you are aware, you do not react blindly. You choose. And that choice protects you. This is where your power is. Not in avoiding everything, but in recognizing what is right and what is not. And tonight, you will have that moment. A moment where you feel something. A pause. A signal. A quiet inner voice. That is your guidance. That is God speaking to you. Do not ignore it. Because that moment is the difference between allowing something in and keeping your life aligned. And this is why this message is urgent. Because once the moment passes, the decision is already made. So stay with this. Do not skip what comes next. Because now, you are going to understand something even deeper. Why this moment is happening now, and what it is trying to reveal in your life. And the reason this is happening now is not random. Archangel Michael says, this moment is connected to everything you have been going through. The confusion, the delays, the situations that didn't make sense. It all led to this. Because lately, you have been changing. Not just on the outside. Inside. The way you think. The way you feel. The way you see people. Things that once felt normal no longer feel the same. And that is not a coincidence. That is God preparing you. But listen carefully. Do not skip this part. Because what you are about to hear, most people ignore. And that is why they stay stuck. If this message is speaking to you right now, don't stay silent. Type in the comments, I am ready for change. Not for the video. For yourself. Because when you say it, you are making a decision. And decisions create movement. And if you truly feel this message, subscribe right now. Because messages like this do not reach everyone. They reach people who are meant to hear them. And if you're here, you are one of them. Now stay with this. Because what comes next will decide everything. And now, this is the moment you must understand clearly. Because everything you have heard so far leads to this. Archangel Michael says, when that moment happens tonight, you must not react immediately. You must pause. Not for long, but enough to become aware. Because your first reaction will come from habit, and your awareness will come from alignment. There is a difference. Habit reacts fast. Alignment responds with clarity. So when you hear that knock, when you see that message, when that person appears, do not move instantly. Take a breath. One moment of stillness. That moment will change everything. Because in that pause, you will feel something. A signal. A hesitation. A quiet inner voice. Archangel Michael says, that is your guidance. Not fear. Not doubt. Guidance. But you must listen. Because if you ignore it, you return to the same pattern. acting quickly, trusting blindly, allowing without thinking, and later, regret follows. You already know that feeling. You've experienced it before. That moment where you said, "I should have waited." This time, you will wait. Not out of fear, but out of awareness. Because waiting for a moment is not weakness. It is control. And control protects you. Archangel Michael says, you are not being asked to reject everything. You are being asked to choose carefully. So in that moment, observe first. Listen carefully. Feel the energy, not just the words. Because words can sound right, even when the situation is not. People can seem familiar, even when their presence is not aligned. And urgency can feel important, even when it is not necessary. That is why awareness must come first. Before action, before response, before decision. Because once you act, the situation changes. And once something enters, it becomes harder to remove. So your power is before the action, not after. And tonight, that power will be tested. Archangel Michael says, do not let pressure decide for you. Do not let urgency control you. Do not let familiarity blind you. Because what feels normal is not always right. And what feels urgent is not always important. So slow down. Stay present. Stay aware. And trust what you feel. Because your intuition is not random. It is God guiding you. And when you listen to it, you stay aligned. When you ignore it, you lose clarity. That is the difference. This is a message for the chosen one from heaven. And if you are still here, you are being prepared for that exact moment. So do not rush. Do not react. Do not decide too quickly. Pause. Feel. Then choose. Because that choice will decide what enters your life next. And what enters your life shapes everything that follows. So stay with this. Do not skip what comes next. Because now, you are about to understand what happens after you make the right decision. And how that one moment begins to change everything. And this is where everything becomes real. Not when you hear the message. Not when you feel something. But when you decide to act. Archangel Michael says, this is your moment. Not later. Not tomorrow. Now. Because everything you have been feeling, everything you have been going through, has been leading to this point. You were not placed here randomly. This is a message for the chosen one from heaven. And if you are still listening, you are part of this moment. So do not skip this. Because what you do after this matters more than anything you have heard so far. You already know your next step. You have felt it more than once. That decision, that action, that hesitation you keep ignoring, that is not random. That is direction, given to you by God. But here is what most people do. They hear messages like this. They feel something. They agree with it. And then they go back. Back to distraction. Back to delay. Back to old habits. And nothing changes. Not because heaven did not guide them, but because they did not respond. You are not doing that this time, because something inside you already knows. This is different. That is why you are still here. That is why you have not skipped. That is why this feels personal. Archangel Michael says, heaven is watching how you respond, not judging you, but seeing if you are ready. Because readiness is not about knowing everything. It is about choosing to move, even when you do not. So if you feel something right now, do not ignore it. Acknowledge it. Type in the comments, I receive my blessing. Say it with intention. Not for the video. For yourself. Because when you claim it, you align with it. And alignment creates movement. And movement changes everything. And listen carefully. If you have made it this far, do not leave now. Because most people would have already skipped. Most people would have missed this moment. But you did not. And that matters. So if you want more messages like this, more guidance from heaven, more clarity from God, more direction through Archangel Michael, subscribe now. Stay connected. Because the next message you receive might be the one you need in that exact moment. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share this message with them. Because sometimes one message can shift everything. Archangel Michael says, you are not here to stay the same. You are here to move forward, to step into something new, to stop repeating the same cycle. And your blessing is connected to that decision. Not later. Now. So stay with this. Because what comes next is what happens after you choose correctly. And how that one moment begins to change everything in your life. This is a message for the chosen one from heaven. And if you are still here, you are exactly where you need to be. And the moment you make the right decision, everything begins to change. Not all at once. Not in a dramatic way. But in a real way. Archangel Michael says, the moment you choose awareness, heaven responds. Not later. Immediately. But not always in ways you expect. Because change does not always appear loudly. It unfolds. Step by step. You will begin to notice small shifts. Things that once felt stuck start moving. Situations that felt confusing become clear. Conversations begin to feel different. People respond differently. Even your thoughts begin to change. And you may not even realize it at first. Because it happens quietly. But consistently. That is how God works. Not always through sudden events. But through alignment. Through small moments that lead to something bigger. And this is where many people get confused again. Because they expect everything to change instantly. They expect one big sign. One clear moment. One undeniable result. But your blessing does not arrive all at once. It builds. Because what builds lasts. Archangel Michael says, do not rush what God is forming in your life. Trust the process. Trust the timing. Because every step you take is creating something, even if you cannot see it fully yet. But here is something important. Once you move forward, you cannot go back to who you were. You cannot return to old thinking, old habits, old reactions. Because once awareness grows, you cannot ignore it anymore. And that can feel uncomfortable. Because part of you will want to go back. Back to what is easy. Back to what feels familiar. Even if it is not right for you anymore. But Archangel Michael says, do not go back. Because what is behind you has already served its purpose. And what is ahead of you is where your blessing exists. This is the point where your life begins to separate from what it used to be to what it is becoming. And that shift requires commitment, not perfection. Commitment. Commitment to move forward. Commitment to trust what you feel. Commitment to follow what is right, even when it is not easy. Because clarity continues to reveal itself as you move, not before. And the more you move, the more things begin to align. You start noticing the right opportunities, the right moments, the right direction. Things begin to connect, not randomly, but intentionally, because you are now aligned with what God has prepared for you. And this is where confidence begins to grow. Not from thinking, but from seeing. Seeing things shift. Seeing things work. Seeing things unfold. And you realize something. You were never stuck. You were just not moving. And now, that has changed. This is a message for the chosen one from heaven. And if you are still here, you are already stepping into something new. But listen carefully, because there is one final thing you must understand. Something that will decide whether you fully receive your blessing or delay it again. And most people get this wrong. Do not skip what comes next, because this is where everything becomes clear. And now, this is the final thing you must understand, because this is where most people lose everything. Not at the beginning, not in the middle, at the end, right when things are about to change. Archangel Michael says, the final mistake is going back to old thinking, old habits, old patterns, after you have already started moving forward, after you have already felt the shift, after you have already seen the signs. Something happens. You feel uncertainty again. Things do not move as fast as you expected. Doubt returns. And you begin to think, maybe nothing is really changing. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should go back to how things were. And slowly, you disconnect. Not all at once, but step by step. You stop acting. You stop trusting. You stop paying attention. And without realizing it, you return to the same place, waiting, questioning, feeling stuck again. This is the moment that separates those who receive from those who miss. Because the difference is not opportunity. The difference is consistency. Archangel Michael says, do not stop now. Do not lose momentum. Do not go back. Just because things feel uncertain. Because uncertainty is part of the process. It does not mean nothing is happening. It means something is still forming. Think about this. A seed does not become a tree overnight. It grows in stages, quietly, slowly. And if you dig it up too early, because you do not see results yet, you destroy what was growing. That is what most people do. They start, then they stop, because they do not see immediate results, and they never realize how close they actually were. You are not doing that this time, because you have already come too far. You have already changed too much. You have already seen too much. This is a message for the chosen one from heaven. And if you are still here, you are not meant to repeat the same cycle. You are meant to move forward, to stay consistent, to trust the process, even when it is not fully clear. Because what is happening right now is still unfolding. Even if you cannot see all of it yet, even if it feels slow, even if it feels uncertain. Archangel Michael says, do not measure your progress by what you see immediately. Measure it by the direction you are moving. Because direction is what changes everything. And your direction has already shifted. You are not where you used to be. You are not thinking the same. You are not reacting the same. That is progress. And that is why you must continue. Because stopping now would only delay what is already on its way. And you are too close to go back. So before this message ends, lock this in. Type in the comments, I do not go back. Make that decision, because your future depends on it. And if this message reached you, do not keep it to yourself. Share it, because someone else might be waiting for this exact message. And if you want to stay guided, stay aware, stay aligned with messages like this, subscribe, because the next message you receive might be the one you need, at the exact moment you need it. Stay aware, stay ready, stay aligned, because what is coming is already in motion. And you are not alone. Heaven is guiding you. God is with you. Archangel Michael is watching over you.